Oh, I love it when I manage to run on time on a Monday. It's 9:30. Time for Tillamook Today. Good morning, ladies.
Hey, good morning. This is LeeAnn. We're here with Senator Betsy Johnson this morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Tillamook. I just came over from Scappoose. It was a gorgeous drive. The sun started shining as soon as I got here, so it's a good day in Tillamook County.
You brought it with you.
Amen.
That's great. Well, so you're here today for a Shellfish Task Force tour.
I am. We are, first of all, going on a tour of commercial oyster growing operations in Tillamook Bay and Coos Bay. Let me give a little background.
Yeah.
The Shellfish Task Force was formed emulating what has happened up in Washington.
Okay.
Washington State put a fair amount of money into their task force, and that resulted in a shellfish initiative that speaks to ocean conditions. I'm trying to take this task force a little broader than just the mariculture. I want to talk about processing and how we basically keep a vibrant seafood catching, processing, selling, eating, sending away to other places. Because I don't think people really realize how important fish processing and shellfish processing is to the economic vitality of the West Coast and certainly Oregon.
Right.
So we're going to go out and talk about best management practices for mariculture operations. We're going to talk about how oyster production and eelgrass can coexist because it's incredibly important to have healthy eelgrass. We're going to make some recommendations. Then we're going to do a tour of the Whiskey Creek shellfish. And I have great affection for Whiskey Creek, given that I was just first starting to represent Tillamook when Whiskey Creek went from billions of oyster larvae, billions of larvae, to zero.
Yeah.
And it came as a result of ocean acidification. We called the cavalry. Governor Kulongowski was governor then, and I actually chased him into the gentleman's room. Not completely, but I lurked outside while he was in the gents' room to ask him for some financial assistance out of the governor's office. And we were able to secure that money, bring down a team of scientists, oceanographers, water experts from OSU. They moved into Whiskey Creek Hatchery, figured out how to fix the pH in the water, and then how to scale that fix up so that it was commensurate with the size of operation that Whiskey Creek has. And as a result, Whiskey Creek went back into production. And I don't think that out of Tillamook, Oregon, or Tillamook County, that people really realize that Whiskey Creek supplies larvae from British Columbia to Baja.
And right. That was, I think, that incident and your reaction and the response. I think that's what put them in a lot of people's minds at all.
Well, and certainly put a very bright light on the fact that we've got to figure out how does oyster production, eelgrass coexist? How do we as the legislature invest enough money in some of the scientific work, especially around ocean conditions, ocean acidification, where the pH in the water changes enough that calcium shells can't form around the oysters.
Right.
And so we're down here to talk about this. This is a pretty good group. We've been meeting in Salem and now are coming down to the coast. And we've got producers on the committee. We've got scientists. We've got people from the agencies. We elected co-chairs. Katty McEwen is the functional chair. I'm the Senate ranking person.
She's the one from Coos Bay.
She is from Coos Bay and certainly understands and knows about all kinds of seafood production.
Right.
And so it's a good group. And it seems especially fortuitous just at this moment when we're talking about comestibles and seafood and eating local vores and all of those kinds of good things that we have just been joined by the director of the Tillamook Farmers Market. She's here at the station where I am live to cut an ad. And so I asked her to join us just briefly and talk a little bit about what I think is one of the most vibrant markets, farmers markets, in all of Senate District 16. They've taken this from practically nothing to one of my favorite markets. So we're joined by Don Beyer. Hi, Don.
Good morning,
Hi.
Don.
Good morning.
You're
Thank
getting
you for
ready. You're
having
gearing
me.
up for the
We
new
are.
season.
We sure are.
When does the season start?
June 11th is the first day.
Oh, exciting. What's going to be new this year?
Well, we've got an expanded kids program that's the Power of Produce. And so last year we kind of opened it up and we were able to do 2 of them. And this year we're hoping to do 1 a month, and that's a program where the kids can come and we give them kids bucks, and they're able to kind of decorate some bags, and this empowers them to do some shopping of their own. And
Right.
the dollars are good for fresh and local produce, so that they get a little bit of kind of a gateway into making good, healthy food decisions.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a good program.
You have such a nice mix of product. I think what I especially like at your market are the berries. And when I come down for parades, sometimes I sneak by a little early and I ask the berry ladies to save me a couple of quarts because I don't want to drag them around at parades. But your market is the nicest mix between flowers, produce, crafts. It's got wonderful vendors. The produce is always beautifully displayed. And you've got stuff that you don't find at other markets, none the least of which is artichokes prepared in about a bazillion different ways. Artichoke dip, artichokes to take home and steam. You have baked stuff. I really am a huge aficionado of your market. It's commodious. It's nicely laid out. The vendors are friendly and cheerful, and the very eclectic array of things to buy. It makes the market exciting and fun.
Definitely.
Absolutely does.
I also managed to run into somebody I know at every market, and you've got those nice tables in the center where
Yep.
people can buy prepared foods and sit there and eat them or peel fruit or whatever it is they're buying. And sitting out there in the sunshine, it provides a very convivial spot to sort of stop and talk. And in my line of work, somebody always wants to talk about something.
Yep.
So that's one of the ups and extras of your market.
Yeah, it truly is a community market.
It really is. What year are you guys in?
This will be the 16th year.
Oh, yeah. It's just flown by. Well,
Yeah.
to me.
It really is amazing. And it's come along in such a remarkable way. I mean, starting with a few little stands.
Yeah.
And now I forgot to mention meat. You can get meat.
Yeah.
And it's centrally located. It's easy to park. It's easy to get to. And it really is one of my favorites. So I'll be looking forward to June the 11th. Astoria, I can't leave out Astoria because I helped put that one together.
Right.
Good.
Astoria starts on Mother's Day, and Scappoose has a terrific farmers market run by Bill Blank. And I know, or at least I think I know, that all of the managers are always looking for vendors.
Okay.
And the more produce, I know a farmer from Nehalem comes up to Astoria.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Trineri, I think.
Yeah,
Kingfisher.
that's exactly who it is.
Yeah.
And he has wonderful salad mixes.
Yeah.
So if people want good food, they want to support their local farmer, they want to get value because you really do. It doesn't get fresher. If you want a good value proposition and some great grub, I urge people to come to their farmer's market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's just the best deal of the summer. Oh, and it's spring, too, actually. So, but yeah, well, thank you. Is there anything, we've been talking about shellfish, and I was just curious. I didn't notice last year, but do you guys have any fresh seafood?
We don't.
Oh, okay.
We've been trying to get a seafood vendor, but we don't have
Well,
any.
maybe-
So if you hear this and you're a seafood vendor, come on down.
There you go.
We've
Put out
had
the call.
seafood vendors up in Astoria, and some of it fresh, a lot of it canned.
Ah, there you go.
And the canned fish from the coast is just. My mother was still living when I first started representing the coast, and I started taking her, specially processed canned, especially tuna fish, albacore tuna.
Yeah.
And she deemed everything else cat food. I had to bring her coast packed tuna, and so I know the value of that. And knowing some of the processors makes it nicer because you're sort of eating the product that friends of yours make their living from.
Yeah.
So Dawn, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
Any last words? Come on down, bring your bags.
Come on down, bring your reusable bag. And one other thing, we do have a new program. It's through SNAP. We offer SNAP to SNAP users, and we also have a new program. It's Double Up Food Bucks, similar to our previous SNAP match, but it's sponsored through the Farmers Market Fund. So now we're not only able to match the first 10, we're able to match all SNAP users each day.
Oh, okay. So if they buy something with the SNAP card, the Oregon Trail card, then they get matched. They get an equal amount.
Match dollars for fresh and local produce.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm going to take a moment to read from one of our sponsors, Roby's Furniture. You don't buy furniture every day, so it just makes sense that when you do invest in that new sofa or recliner, you're paying the best price possible. The same goes for that mattress or your refrigerator. At Roby's Furniture and Appliance, you'll find the top name brands: Maytag, Frigidaire, La-Z Boy, Lane Simmons, and Tempur-Pedic, and more, all under one roof at low, low prices. Roby's offers high volume pricing and selection with small town service and a smile. They have something in every price range and every taste. And don't forget, Roby's offers free delivery to veterans and active duty military. See them right now for great savings. Serving the folks who call the coast home. Roby's Furniture and Appliance, Astoria, Tillamook, Lincoln City, Newport, and Florence. Okay, Betsy. So, what else do you have to talk about today?
Well, this has been probably the busiest. The February session ended, and we came back to our own districts. So we're not in Salem right now. But I cannot remember a busier March or April. There were several big wins for the coast, and while we can debate for a long time whether or not this session was a good session, I personally thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
But we tried to do too much in too short a period of time. But there were some huge wins for the coast. We got money to help Pacific Seafood rebuild their processing plant in Warrenton.
Yeah.
That'll put 200 people back to work at the height of the season, and Representative Boone and I worked very, very hard on that. But probably the most exciting thing that I'm involved in right now is to not replicate, but certainly try to emulate a project that's happening in Sheffield, England. It is called the AMRC, the Advanced Manufacturing Research Center. It is a partnership between government, industry, and academia to create a research and development as well as training campus in metal manufacturing and metallurgy, specifically aerospace, with an eye towards the 777X, which is the next generation of Boeing flying machines. Oh. And what happened in England was a fellow from Sheffield, which has been a metal manufacturing center forever. Stainless steel was invented there.
Okay.
And the economy completely went to hell in Sheffield. They had huge unemployment. He had figured out a smarter, better, greener, faster way to cut titanium, which is one of the principal metals used in aerospace manufacturing. He couldn't get the big airplane companies to pay any attention to him, so he partnered with the engineering department at the University of Sheffield, and they managed to break into Boeing's supply chain. They managed to get big contracts from Boeing.
Wow.
And they put together a facility specifically designed around research and development for aerospace. They've now got 7 lines of inquiry, scientific inquiry there that include medical, that include unmanned aerial, McLaren Racing, which is an iconic English racing IndyCar.
Okay.
We will obviously never replicate that because they're trying to make English cars go faster and win more races.
Yeah.
But they then came alongside it a training facility that takes a young student in the English model of apprenticeship, a student maybe age 16, 17, who is not going to go on to an advanced degree, but may have specific capabilities in welding or machining. And they match that student with industry.
Okay.
And so the student then goes through their training facility, and the first year is just learning the fundamentals of his trade. Then the next year is more involved with the industry, and then finishes his education, his academic education, largely at the company that he's now been paired, or she has been paired with. The student leaves the training facility debt-free, has been paid a stipend, and has a permanent place with an industry.
Wow, you can't beat that.
Well, we have done a little bit of that here in Tillamook. When you think about the relationship started by Max Sherman and Ed Armstrong and others out at the high school,
right,
pairing with TBCC and Hampton and Stimson, right, and the Creamery, and doing ostensibly the same thing.
Yeah.
So it finds kids, it teaches them that career technical education is just as valuable as a 4-year or an advanced degree in philosophy or something like that. Pairs them up with companies that are willing to take apprentices on the floor or in a management track. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get more kids into making stuff and to value that career technical education at the same degree that we celebrate kids going on and getting bachelor's or master's or even PhDs. And teaching a kid, and I'll just conclude with this, teaching a kid to do things with their hands, to weld or to machine, in our model that we're pilfering from Sheffield, does not preclude a particularly gifted kid from going on and getting a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD.
Right.
But it certainly, that's the exception, not the norm. The norm is you go to work on the floor of a plant.
Yeah. Well, and again, like you said, I mean, there's never going to be as far as I can see, a shortage. I mean, a lack of need for that kind of skill.
Oh, there isn't. There isn't.
I mean, we still need stuff. It might be the age of the internet, but it's, we still need things. I wonder, how, that you mentioned the unmanned aerial. With what's going on out at Near Space and whatnot, is there some way that you think, can you foresee them ever partnering?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Near Space, just to again put a finer point on this, Near Space is one of 3 test ranges that we have here in Oregon. We partnered to become part of the Pan-Pacific Agreement. This is with the University of Alaska. And Oregon got tapped to have 3 sites, and they're very unique demographic market segments. Here on the coast, we've got the temperate rainforest, the ocean, the opportunity for marine exploration, and near space, of course, having gone to the very edge of space for 20 years. These are not neophytes. These are very, very experienced engineers and unmanned aerial pilots.
Yeah.
The range in Central Oregon is on the Indian Reservation, and the Indians, the Warm Springs Indians, are carving out a particular niche for themselves in firefighting.
Oh, okay.
Because of the occurrence of conflagration in Central Oregon, and the Indian Reservation has been burned substantially a number of times.
Right.
That's not to say that Near Space couldn't have a piece of that market. But then over in Eastern Oregon at the Pendleton Range, that the city of Pendleton and the Oregon Military Department have invested in heavily, they're looking at using unmanned aerial vehicles in precision agriculture to be able to go out and measure temperature and moisture content of the soil, to be able to monitor sprinkler systems in those big artificial pivots that are using. The difference between irrigated ag and non-irrigated ag is about $500 an acre for non-irrigated, about $5,000, and those are I've rounded up, $5,000 an acre irrigated ag, but using unmanned aerial vehicles, and they're setting up a test program right now called Future Farm that will be using unmanned aerial vehicles to assay a variety of different crops, whether they're tree fruits or they're onions and potatoes in the ground. Unmanned aerial vehicles will be able to move from farm to farm to farm and bring back real data to help do farming in a more ecologically sensitive way, higher yields, lower application of chemicals, more judicious use of water, and produce higher volumes, which is just an incredible win.
That's so exciting. I mean, who would have even thought?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the legislature needs to keep their greasy little fingers off of this nascent industry. Some of my colleagues here, unmanned aerial vehicle equals drone equals militarized equals bad.
Right.
And the real fact of the matter is, if we can get the rules of the road, in this case the sky, worked out so that drones aren't interfering with manned aircraft and especially commercial airliners,
right,
we are going to have a whole new horizon of possibilities opened up, and Oregon's going to be in the vanguard of leading that.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I every time I see something about it in the news myself, I'm always going to read it. So I'm going to take another moment here to read something from another sponsor. This is Tillamook Motor Company. Okay, this is the time, and Tillamook Motor Company is definitely the place. Why? Because this is Ford Truck Month, where you can save big time on Ford F-Series, the #1 selling trucks in America for 39 years straight. How does that keep happening, you ask? Because of trucks like the Ford F-150 with game-changing innovation, like a high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy body, making it up to 700 pounds lighter than the previous generation. And it doesn't stop there. The F-150 is also the winner of a 2016 Kelley Blue Book 5-year Cost to Own award. And if you're looking for a beast, look no further than the Ford Super Duty, delivering best-in-class standard horsepower and torque. This is the time. Find your truck at Tillamook Motor Company on the friendly corners of 5th and 7th in downtown Tillamook. A better place to do business.
It was the time for us. We bought a car from Tillamook Ford, and it was great to do business with them. And I was talking with the manager of the market about shopping local. I think we ought to shop local every time we buy something. So
I completely agree.
They made us a good deal, and my husband's car is a Tillamook Ford car.
That's great. Well, yeah, I don't know if you were prepared to talk about this, but I wanted to ask you. You were at the recent Emergency Volunteer Corps of New Hampshire Bay annual meeting. What did you come away with?
Well, wow. I came away with a lot of stuff, and I admit to you with shame that for all the people that I have encouraged to get their go bag or their bug out bag, I didn't have one. And so when you said, what did I take away? I took away a bug out bag for me and a bug out bag for my husband. Linda Kozlowski's leadership there has really galvanized the community. And when people call me from other towns that I'm privileged to represent and say, what should we do about emergency prep? I say, your first stop is to call Linda Kozlowski.
That's right.
She has mobilized people, equipment, the town. It's a culture of preparedness now. And her team are putting together these bug-out bags that have some fundamentals in them that come with the bag, and it's way under $100, and you get the bag that's a backpack and rollers, and it's got some of your fundamentals in the bag. Then you get a checklist of other things that you can add that include all sorts of stuff, like even playing cards to while away the hours while we wait for help. Because the real fact of the matter is that when, not if, but when there is a major Cascadia event on the coast, we're going to be isolated for a long time.
Right.
Too much of our Highway 101, when you think about it and just follow it in your mind's eye, driving even from Tillamook to Astoria, how much of it crosses bridges, how much of it is right near the water. And what we want is just what's happened in Manzanita to be in all the communities. And their little slogan is, be prepared, not scared.
Right.
And we've got to find that balance between having communities that are resilient and able to withstand isolation for some period of time without scaring away the tourists, without making the coast a frightening place, because it isn't. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
So figuring out that balance, but it was a great meeting. Andrew Phelps, who's the new head of Oregon Emergency Management, was there, and you'll appreciate this. He's a wannabe actor and thespian and entertainer. He's one of the funniest agency head public speakers I've ever heard. And I mean, Gordon McCraw is very funny, but he's going to give Gordon a run for his money.
That's
Gordon
not
was
easy.
there. And, Commissioner Bartline was there, Commissioner Labhart, who got an award for being one of the really capable partners. And boy, we're going to miss him when he's not county commissioner.
That's all I keep thinking whenever I run into him. I think, what are we going to do without you?
I will. He's one of my really closest friends, and he has been such a joy to work with in his capacity as commissioner. He is a remarkable human being.
Yeah.
But he was there. There were members from the Governor's Regional Solutions team, Jennifer Purcell. There were others. Shana was there. Stevie Burden. We had mayors. We had the Pine Grove was packed.
Yeah.
And they gave out some awards, but mostly reinforced, I think, for state agency people, because the head of DOGAMI, Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, they're the ones that are the predictors of earth movement for the state of Oregon. And they're doing an all-hazards assessment of Tillamook County commencing fairly shortly.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't either until that event. But what I took away from it, not only my go bags, which now make me feel more prepared, but certainly the admiration for how that community has drawn together to make sure that they are well prepared in the case of any kind of emergency.
Yeah.
Fire, earthquake, tsunami, whatever. They're ready to go.
That's just it. Like it's even if it's not the tsunami event right away, we've had times where we have been isolated just from storms, and so it's great to know that kind of leadership's there. And Linda doesn't her enthusiasm never flags.
That woman is just a ball of energy, and she's almost evangelical, talking about the need for preparedness and driving home for all of us not only our own personal responsibility for taking care of ourselves, but the need to make sure that Our neighbors who may not be as able-bodied are looked after.
Right.
People with disabilities, geriatric, little kids. And they have such it's like a little Swiss clock up there of people responsible for their neighbors. They know their neighbors. It's helped build a sense of community.
Yeah.
And now they're doing go-bag parties where you can... and we should make that number available to people to get invited. But you go to your friends and neighbors' houses, and they do a go bag demonstration. You have a chance to buy the go bag. They talk about how important it is. You have a cup of tea at your neighbors, and that helps solidify community.
Yeah.
So people can be aware of those and be
great.
able to go to a go bag party.
Speaking of that, I just happened to see on Facebook that the EVC is sponsoring another go bag class coming up very soon. I think it's May 7th, but you can find out for sure by going to the Google the Emergency Volunteer Corps of Nehalem Bay or find them on Facebook, and it's listed there. But it's taught by a couple of local people, and it's supposed to be one of their most popular offerings.
Well, I think it's great, and if it encourages people that were sort of laggards like I was, that to go get your stuff and fill up your go bag and know where it is, and slip that deck of cards in there so you can while away the hours, you're set.
That's great. I was just thinking paperback book, something light, that you can.
Exactly.
That's great. We still have a couple of minutes. Is there anything else you want to?
Well,
mention?
just that it's. We're focusing on the February session in the rearview mirror, but we're also anticipating the January session. And I have been one of the people very, very involved with transportation. And I have reason to believe that the presiding officers in cooperation and as colleagues with the governor will be asking the legislature and specific legislators to take a lead in trying to put a package together for January.
Okay.
And in 2017 when we come back. And I have expressed my very fervent interest in being one of those legislators. I was one of the negotiators for the 2009 Jobs and Transportation package that brought us the improvements, among other things, to 101 and 6.
That's right.
And so I hope that I'm one of the negotiators for the next package. We desperately need a comprehensive transportation plan for the state.
Right.
Not only are we letting our current infrastructure deteriorate, and having just come over 6 this morning for this meeting from Scappoose, I can tell you where every pothole is, every sliding corner, every place that still needs a guardrail.
Yeah.
We've got to take care of our existing infrastructure, and then we've got to build some capacity.
Yeah.
And the gridlock that now grips Portland, starting at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, should matter as much to a cheese producer in Tillamook as it does to an onion grower in Ontario.
Yep.
Because if we cannot get product, especially perishable product, out into the marketplace timely, it costs money of drivers idling trucks. It befouls the environment. It diminishes the high quality of our Oregon products that are sold all over the world. We have got to get transportation systems and infrastructure across the board, whether it's aviation, rail, highways and bridges. We need to make transit work better. Mm-hmm. And there is a big difference between big transit, like TriMet, and all of their issues and their problems and their plans, and little transit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would ask the very perhaps inflammatory question, should we have 3 separate transit districts in Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia?
Right.
Could you amalgamate the back room and find savings that could then be put out into greater bus service?
Right.
And that's not going to be popular with some people that feel very parochial about their transit systems. But I just don't think in this constrained fiscal environment we can continue to do business as usual. We're going to have to think of smarter, better ways to deliver product. And in this case, the product is working transportation infrastructure.
Well, and as you said, it seems like something that you need to look at in a very regional way. I mean, unlike some things, you can definitely break them up into little districts or what have you. But this is a pretty interconnected thing. So
well, and it'd be difficult because the transit is paid for in different ways in different places. Some supported by property tax, taxes, some supported by general fund contributions. It's a variety, and it would take some negotiation and some give and take and some flexibility on everybody's part. But the point of the story is I just think we have to think ahead.
Yeah.
We're predicting getting another 1 million people. When I was growing up in Oregon, we hadn't broken 1.5 million. That was a long time ago, too. But we're looking at now a burgeoning population and an aging population. How do we get those guys moved around efficiently and in a cost-effective way?
Well, we'll look forward to hearing how you guys put that together and how it's going to bear out in the next session. In the meantime, thank you so much, Senator, for stopping by. And we'll also want to hear how the shellfish tour goes. So have fun and take care.
Good. Well, I'm excited about it. And on a pretty day like today, I think it'll be a good way to show off Tillamook County to our colleagues that are coming from some distance to this place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to Tillamook Today. And join us tomorrow for Tim Josie.